Hi again then guys, and welcome to another Forza Horizon 3 top-end speed build, and this time we've got another track-focused vehicle in a similar way to the BMW M4 GTS, the Dodge Viper ACR. In particular though, the DLC, the 2016 Viper. Now the thing about the newer shape Viper is they don't tend to be quite as strong for top-end performance. And although that may initially seem disappointing, the thing about a Viper, in particular this one, the ACR, is it's a deceptively good cornering machine. It's a car which, for all rights, has no right to be a good cornering car. It's much more like a hot rod than a track machine in its essential concept, but the great thing about it is it's such a dominant force for racing, and you really have to respect it for that. Now, I'd recommend having the V12 engine conversion. You can get good power out of pretty much any engine option with a Viper, but that's the one that I'd recommend. As far as the drivetrain, I would also recommend all-wheel drive. Now, you don't technically need all-wheel drive on this one because it's never going to be a car that can outrun something like a Hennessy or a Koenigsegg anyway, so if you want to keep rear-wheel drive, which definitely has its benefits, it's lighter and definitely has better top-end handling, especially for cornering speed, so it has its merits, of course. I'm not an all-wheel drive only kind of guy, but I would recommend all-wheel drive if you're looking for off-road ability and also launch. That's the primary advantages in the case of a straight-line tune. Now for the aspiration, I would recommend, of course, that twin-turbo, and as far as the visuals, of course it's down to you as far as wings, rims. For the rest though, it's pretty obvious. Lower the weight as much as you can, increase your power, fit all of your racing parts essentially. Now this tune is not on my storefront, and it's probably not going to be because I tend to save that for my quicker tunes. And as you can see, the top speed, well, as you saw from the title of the video as well, the top speed is not as strong as you might hope it would be. But at the end of the day, the ACR is not designed for that. It's got a rear wing the size of a park bench, so of course it's not going to be a top-end speed car. It's just not designed for that. It's designed to be a track version. But even the normal one isn't as quick as the older Vipers used to be. So you're looking at pretty strong acceleration, 2.1 to 60, 4 to 100, 244 flat out, at least according to the benchmark. We'll find out in just a second, of course, if it can do that, but for now the gearbox has a final drive, as you can see, of 3.5. Then I've opted for pretty simple individual gears of 2.9, 2, 1.5, 1.18, 0.95 and 0.77. Alignment on neutral camber, neutral toe, 4 degrees of camber, which again is essentially neutral. Anti-roll I've rounded off to 33 and 24. Springs on 129, 159 and the lowest possible ride height. Dampers we've got on 13 and 6 respectively. Aero, of course, you want as low as possible. And as far as the diff, I've got 100% on acceleration, 0 on decel, and a fairly specific split of 74% for this particular car, because if you do change it, as you can see, it does immediately have an effect on your benchmark times. However, you don't really need to pay that too much credence. If you want better handling or better acceleration or launch, you can sometimes ignore the benchmark and just go for what you need rather than being too tied down to the numbers. Well, that's it for the tune overall, so now let's of course take it out on the road to see what it can actually do. Now as far as top end speed goes, both of the newer generation Viper ACRs, this one and the SRT10, have that same kind of trope where they're not as good as many people expect or hope that they would be, and that can disappoint some people. It might stop them from using the car, but again, it's not about that. This is the kind of vehicle that you should use on a track such as maybe Goliath, for instance, where it's not just about top end speed, but it's about that incredibly high average speed even through twisty corners, and that is where the ACR delivers. It's a monster around any kind of cornering circuit. So although it is kind of unfortunate how much slower it is than many of the other X-Class cars, it's still not a vehicle to be undervalued or underappreciated. As you can see, you can go a little bit above the benchmark up to 245, and I feel like you could probably squeeze another couple of miles per hour out of it if you play around with the gears a bit more. So if you do decide to use this tune, I hope you have a lot of fun with it, of course, and win races with it. It definitely has that potential. But that's it for this tune. There are plenty more on the channel to check out if you like this one, and for now, as always, thanks for watching.